Good evening, guys. It is Friday, March 27th, and it is almost 8 o'clock. I am feeling pretty good at the moment because I just got done with a good walk throughout San Isidro. We'll see how long that lasts. I mean, this walking high is how long it lasts. I didn't really take any notes. I didn't review for my last video. This one's going to be a little more off the cuff. In the last 2 hours, as long as I've been walking, I've had a lot of time to think, so I'm going to see if I can just iron this out right now. Update about me. This will be my walking hat. It's an old Padre hat. It's really worn out. The inside's pretty gross, but the longer I walk, the more I sweat, so that'll be part of that. Besides, my hair is getting pretty, I don't know if you guys can see in this light. They're not very good. So my barber, great guy, but he doesn't have a shop, but I go to his house and he cuts my hair. He decided last Monday that he wasn't going to cut hair for a while because of this whole COVID-19 thing. And I can't knock him for that, although it does put me in a bit of a predicament. I'm pretty stuck to my routine as far as every 2 weeks I get a haircut. John, that's his name, he's gotten pretty good, like, to the point where sometimes I'll even sit down, I won't even say what I want, he'll just cut it to, like, whatever it is I'm so used to. It's just one of those things with barbershops, I guess. Where was I going with that? Oh, eventually I might come to the point where I might shave my head, which I don't really want to do because I recently bought a whole bunch of shampoo and conditioner from Costco, and I'd really like to use that up, but push come to shove, yeah, we'll see what's going on here. What else? Maybe notes was better. So, what else is going on with me? Today I stayed a lot in bed. Not because out of laziness, but because, so I mentioned I bought the Weeknd album online. I bought a CD because I wanted a CD, and I got a digital album, which the link they emailed me right afterwards didn't really work. They finally got that link working yesterday, which I think I mentioned, and I was able to download it, but I didn't really kind of sort things out to where I wanted it to be. I was trying to do that today, but I wasn't very successful at all. Apparently they're MP3s, which I'm familiar with, but iTunes nowadays runs M4As, and then I guess M4As you can transfer from laptop to phones pretty easy, but yeah, you can't do that for MP3s. I don't know. A couple other things. I have a big desktop, but my dad decided that he didn't want to use the Wi-Fi for that because, how do I say, he's putting his whole house under Wi-Fi, and his limit for devices is up there, and my computer's first one to go. It's just what it is. I can't complain too much. What I ended up doing, which I didn't want to do, is, well, actually, I'm glad I did, is I actually paid for a version of After Hours on iTunes, which is good because I got a deluxe edition, which is like, the original album was 14 songs, the deluxe like 19, which is actually really nice. That went straight to my phone, which is actually what I listened to throughout most of the walk, so I got to really sync that in. So I'm going to do a little brief review on that. My first Weeknd album was Beauty Behind the Madness. I got hooked onto that. Starboy was really good. That gave kind of like a Tron-esque feel to it. Techno-ish, but yet still kind of had that Weeknd vibe, you know, all the girls and all that good stuff. After Hours, it's a slower pace. I guess if you had the LP, I forgot it's something, My Dear Melancholy, I think it was called. Anyways, After Hours is a little more slower pace. It's more built like a story compared to the other albums. It starts off where he feels like he needs to get single, and then there's gradual stages to that, and eventually he's kind of back into the player mode. Again, that's a very loose outline to describe that album. If you know any of the Weeknd songs, that's all he ever sings about is girls, sex, love, being lonely, depressed, wanting to sleep with other girls to get over his depression, anyway, or being depressed from other girls. That's something else. Um, for those of you who have me on Facebook, you guys have probably known I'm probably getting a little more polemic or more aggressive online. Uh, I laugh at that, but I welcome it. So as you guys kind of know, or for those of you who've been following more regularly, which I think there are about 6 of you, um, yeah, I read a lot of books, but those that ring the best with me are the polemics. So I think I've alluded to it in the past. And I don't feel like you learn something if you learn a perspective unless you've literally taken that position and argued it as much as you can argue. Because when you're on the fly arguing, you realize your mind is going in different directions and you want to say something, but then you'll stop and think, is that consistent with what I've read so far, or am I just making this part up? Marx is probably Karl Marx, probably the biggest polemic ever. That's actually his charge, and the group I'm with, I don't want to mention yet. Maybe I will eventually, because politics will eventually just spew out of me. Um, by nature, not that we believe in nature, so to speak, but the nature of the cause, nature of the group, is a polemic one. Always arguing points. And if I ever get into it, it'll make sense. I can say this now, and you can wonder why there's nothing worth arguing over that much. I would say there is, but also within the discipline of political science, which is also pre-law, there is an element of arguing you have to do. Lawyers basically argue interpretations of the law, how they can stretch it, whether it's within the realm of guilty or not guilty of certain charges. Yeah, that's that. I don't know how else to more explain that. Maybe some of you will tell me something didn't make sense, or if one of my words are off. Shout out to Vanessa who told me that I forgot what video I mentioned. I said astrology versus astronomy, which is a very, very big difference. Astronomy is the science of stars, space, basically, and astrology is it's horoscopes, which, respectfully, I don't believe in. It's superstitious. They're kind of fun, I guess, if you got nothing else in your life to do. Aside from that, um, the weather down here has been kind of iffy. I kid you not, last night I was woken up. I was awakened. I woke up. I was Sorry, I'm spazzing out my words. I was awakened by loud thunder at like 1 a.m. I literally saw the light in my room almost as bright as this right now for like a brief second and woke me up. And it was pouring rain, which is kind of annoying because I kind of wanted to get up and do an early morning walk. But to do that would be annoying because I'd have to like walk through and around all these puddles. And while San Ysidro is not exactly the best place to walk, say early in the morning or kind of at dusk, like I just did just now, the streets being empty makes a lot of intersections safer. Not that they're dangerous, but California stops. People are always in a rush. Yeah, it can be kind of risky. You got to be on your toes sometimes. Lately, it hasn't been as bad. Streets are empty, is what it is. That's all. Oh, one big thing I saw update on the whole COVID-19 as far as like national and international scope. The website I actually mentioned was actually really handy. World Info. I'll put the link in again. I think I had it in my last video, but the United States officially took the lead as far as total cases of COVID-19. Oh, excuse me. And for me, that's kind of a big thing, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So, pandemics, spread of viruses and diseases, has a sort of cycle to it. So wherever it starts, and it'll spread to other people, and it'll spread. At first, it's slow, depending on the type of disease. It also depends on, say, like incubation period versus signs of symptoms. COVID-19, I'm sure if any of you guys heard anything or read anything, it's up to a 2-week incubation period where you have the disease and you are not exerting any symptoms whatsoever. And so that's what's kind of the dangerous part of it. And even more so that a lot of the symptoms are mixed in with common cold or the flu. I mean, they're noticing distinct differences, but that's in the beginning that was kind of that's like really risky because you don't know what you got, you know what you're getting. That and the fact that it's something new, and they don't now they have a test for it, but there's no cure for it. Small tangent. Anyone who compares COVID-19 to the flu, saying it's just like a bad flu, they are full of I won't say the word. I was gonna say it pretty quick. They're downplaying it. It's it's worse than that. I don't want to be an alarmist, so to speak, but if one is to be considerate of, say, other human beings, especially those older, you treat COVID-19 very seriously, and you should more or less stay indoors. That's another topic. Anyways, back to the main subject at hand. Um, Diseases have a cycle. So, again, it starts small, and it spreads throughout more and more. And historically, the way you kind of society has learned to control these things are through quarantine and containment. Now, when news in Wuhan, China, finally kind of caught like the world's attention, like enough, Wuhan, China was already in lockdown, and that was January, February, where millions of people were literally locked down, and people were like, there. I think John Oliver on his YouTube channel gave the example how there's literally a speaker outside telling you when you can be out and when you can't be out, which is kind of crazy. It's almost like George Orwellian 1984 status. It's nuts. Anyways, so since China was the first one to get it, they went through a cycle. More or less, they have apexed. Apex meaning they have got the most amount of cases. The expansion is as big as going to get, and from that point on, they have things more or less under control. Now, don't let that mislead you, because just because they've got just because the expansion has reached its most, so to speak, as far as numbers, doesn't mean they're not getting new cases. It just means they've contained it more, so to speak. So, for example, I think they peaked off at 80,000 cases. Now, time-wise, put that into context. Yes, people will get better. Respectfully, some people will die. Doesn't mean they're not getting new cases. They are getting new cases, but the number of new cases is slowly getting lower and lower and lower. So I think I'm just going to use a number. Don't quote me on it. Or maybe you can go to the website and quote me on it. Their total cases is about 80,000. And their rate, while it used to be like in the tens or 20,000s, like a day, or no, that's exaggerated. Anyways, their rate basically is finally going down. That's the apex. It expanded. It's stopped, and it's slowly going down. But they are getting new cases, just not as much as it was before. With that, for the United States, what that means for us, we've barely come to the point where they call it I forget the term, community spread, community spread, where there's clusters of it. New York's really bad. Renton County, Washington State, where my mom lives. Be safe out there, guys. That's another hub. San Francisco's a hub. A smaller kind of cluster for us, I think I mentioned in the past, was La Jolla or Coronado Base. So there's like small spots, small communities. We are not on an apex. I'll post a video of that surgeon guy that's pretty going around. Sounds very alarmist, but I believe him. He talks about the apex not being until May, which is nuts. I want to go on that, but I need to get back. I don't want to get too off topic, but just to go down that path. So most places they're saying that stay out of work for 2, maybe 3 weeks. That'll take us to what? Second week of April. Now, if medical professionals are estimating the apex not to be until late April, May, that poses a problem. Because if we're in quarantine now and we're getting under control of it, actually, some people will say we're not getting control of it, we're getting worse. But we're also not to the apex yet. That if we lift the quarantine before we reach the apex, shit could get really bad. Pardon my language. Anyways, that's that. Yeah, I'll leave it on that cliffhanger, right? Hot tease. Maybe that was the point I was trying to get to. Anyways, Sorry, I'm spazzing out. Let me take another sip for a second. Take a quick breather. Cycles. That's what we're getting to. So if our cycle is not, if the cycle for the United States is not till like May, that's that's peculiar. So there's a number of projections there. Of course, there's politics in between, kind of speculating all these things. So I would say medical professionals say the apex is not till May. Most people are hoping this will be done with by Easter. I think Trump literally said that he wants to get people out to work by Easter. That's something else. Um, what does that mean for the globe? Oh, there you go, the stats. So officially today, the United States has surpassed China in the total number of cases of COVID 19. For me, this is huge. Why? China has a population of about 1.4 billion people. As far as their wealth, they're not there. They're upcoming pretty good, but there are a lot of speculations against China, especially if you're a diehard American. Capitalism. Don't like those commies or whatever. I posted the article online, and I made the points I'm about to make right now. So, if the United States is the wealthiest country in the world, we're only a country of about 320 million people. Yet, we're not even at our apex, and we've surpassed China in total number of cases. And on the other end, China, 1.3 billion people, passed their apex, which some people could argue because they're like, don't trust their press, whatever. And there's some legitimacy behind that. Chinese censorship is pretty notorious. But granted, they're on the downscope. They're the downhill from the apex, and we're not even there yet. That says something about the conditions in the United States. That with less people and more wealth, we can't contain this virus as good as say that Chinese. I can tell some of you already if you're very patriotic, you're gonna have something. So I'm gonna stop right there. I'm just saying that's big. Uh, I'll leave that up for now because I'm running time. Time's actually getting pretty long. So it means I've been rambling for however long now. But aside from that, I will play some video games for a little bit before I pass out, before this kicks in. Um, if you guys notice something in any of my videos and want to call me out on it, I will say right now, I actually really enjoy that. I'm not perfect. I will argue like I am, but I'm well aware I'm not. If you tell me I'm doing something, I might not fix it right away, but it's plugged in, and I'll be more conscious of it. Already, I'm talking a little bit slower. I'm getting better at using my words. That's kind of the point of this too. To kind of help me. So if you tell me these things, you're helping me. I can't exactly be mad at that. On top, I mean, also on that note, if you guys are that bored and watching this, we may as well interact online. Hell, we're all cooped up in the house. We're all going crazy. It might help us just to talk to each other for a little bit, lest I find myself at the end of this can before too long.